Hi, this is my week 5 knowledge check video. Let's get into it. Integration is an important aspect of supply chain management. Briefly discuss ways your company can integrate their supply chain processes within different functional areas of the company. Well, yeah, business process frameworks is the first way you can do it. And like you use a SCORE model as an example for BPF. And there where it breaks it down into 6 parts and it's looking for performance to put back into your work, and you're just analyzing where can you find areas to improve. And then you have process mapping where you break down everything. You go through all your processes, like where you can do your work, where it walks to and from, or where your people walk to and from while performing their activities. So just give you a documentation process. Define process mapping. Well, process mapping is where you just create a layout of your business. Like you're getting a documentation layout of your business and all your processes. And like several types, there's like business scope diagrams. That's one approach. There's a geographic map, there's thread diagrams, value stream mapping, and then workflow diagrams. Like workflow, you're just looking at the workflow, how everything comes together. You have the geographic map, like where it is activities being performed and how are they getting to, and then you have like your business scope of how things are running. What are some differences in domestic versus global supply chain management? Well, first off, domestic, you have low order cycle variability versus you have global, which has a high order cycle variability. So you have a lot more variability in international than you do in domestic. And then you have your information variability. Again, domestic this time is going to be higher because, well, it's in your country and you might be able to know more. Second, it might be easier for you to research the laws since you do live in that country versus international. It can range from low to high. Some countries might not give as much information on their products or be required to, versus some countries may have to give the same amount of information on their products. It really just comes down to how it lays out there. Then political factors. And mainly political factors go to tariffs, because you look at car companies today in America, Ford, Chevy, outsourcing a lot. And with President Trump's new tariffs, all of a sudden their cars are getting more expensive, while Toyota, supposed to be the international brand, haven't really gotten that much more expensive because most of their vehicles for the United States anyways are made in America. And then like political factors outside, they are high importance, but not as important as domestic today, but still they have a good factor. Just again, tariffs, trying to protect your own economy, know your own businesses to promote your own country. So there is that. And then finally, distances where domestic can be short to moderate, like maybe cross country, take you a day or two, depending at most, to get from like say one side of the country to the other, versus international. You don't know how that could be. Like if you're in Europe, maybe you can get it on a train and be there within the next day. Maybe you have to ship it on a carrier and you won't see it for a couple of months, or you ship it on a plane and might not see it for a couple of days because it's long distance to go international than it is domestic. And then finally, briefly describe each of these strategies: exporting, licensing, joint ventures, direct ownership, and importing. Well, exporting, it's like the most common form of international exchange and trade. Like more companies do that. With exporting, it does give you a little bit of flexibility. You're able to move around. You're able to ship different ways, like boat, air, depending on the location, possibly rail, but only really in Europe. And it's like low risk. Like say you're exporting whatever, you can ship it on a boat, very low cost. It's a little less risk to you. And then there's not as much political concern on exporting because, well, it's going out of your country, making you money. Problem with that is like competition. You could have international competition of countries you're trying to sell in, or you can have competition from people that are also exporting to that same country in the same market you're in. Then you have tariffs. Again, try to protect your own businesses. Countries will do that, so you're going to have to pay a little more. Then currency exchange is another negative. Like, you could just honestly lose money because of the currency exchange alone. And now, licensing. Well, licensing is an agreement that allows companies to use other companies, like capital things like your building, your machines, your computers. Like, you basically lease out to use theirs for your own stuff, but it's still their building. So an advantage of it, like I said, no capital. You don't have to own anything. You just have to perform, do that. You can have some flexibility here and there, and it kind of helps you get around also tariffs there. Advantage, but now when you get to the disadvantages, slow termination. Like, it's going to take a while to get out of those leasing agreements, and then they could also end up being your future competitors. So you have to be careful of who you work with, because you could eventually be competing against them, and they can cripple you by holding you to a contract that you don't want to be in anymore. Now, joint ventures, and that's where like any two companies come together to create one. Like Dollar Tree and Family Dollar came together to make one company as a merger. Now they're splitting. Again, you get better control. You can get a rapid more entrance into a market because somebody probably has existing there, and you come in as support. And it can be a low cost startup and sourcing, so where you are saving yourself money. But now, unfortunately, with that, you give up equity in the company, and then you give up flexibility because you don't own the company now. And now, with the flexibility you lost, you have to work with the other half to go forward. So like direct ownership now, highest degree of control, but it gives you the most rewards. And then these usually from like a buyout or expansion. So like you can expand, say Walmart wants to go to Japan, right now you can expand into Japan, or say you buy out stores like Walmart in Japan. That's how that is. It can be low and small startup costs because, again, like it says, buyout or expand, like you can expand to a different building, but the cons are very high risk. It's all on you, no flexibility. Like, yes, you can do it on your own, but you have to make it work, otherwise it's just not going to work. And then exchange rates, again, can't stress enough, exchange rates can kill companies. And then finally, importing. It's like where you're getting goods from around the world, possibly try to import and run your business off imported goods. Like some furniture companies that are international, for the United States, they will import them. So it's like easy to buy them. You can buy in bulk, not really a problem. Easy to sell because you're just buying and then selling it on your store or website. Con is you're relying on others. Like, you're relying on them, you're relying on the shippers to get that product to you. Like, you have no control over that, and if something happens to the company, you could potentially be out of luck because you are having to rely on them. Anyways, that's it for this week. Thank you.